This is a short video on the old Scofield Study Bible, which you can see here, King James Version, large print, 1917 notes. Now, we've done this before, but we haven't gone into some details. But what I will say about this, in each book, first of all, Scofield has a rather good, large introduction to the Bible in each one. In each book of the Bible, an introduction, as you can see here. Plus, one thing about Scofield, which is good, as he does cross-references, one of the main things about it is his cross-reference system. In fact, this Bible has sold over, so many thousand copies, more than any other Bible at the time, and still also. And cross-reference is a special feature, as you see here. Like, for example, in Mark 1:1, Gospel. Now there's Mark 1 and then 14 and 15. And then you go to Mark 8:35. But you can see here that it begins in Genesis 12:1-3 and ends in Revelation 14:6. So if you go to Mark and you take that section, go to Genesis and take that section first. Then, if you follow the marks, you go all the way through. All right, now, an example is not here, but here's another example. When you begin, notice this. Every chapter has a heading. So when you go through the Bible, you will notice when you go through, you go all the way through, then you come to another heading. The third day, land and sea, plant life appeared. Notice that? So he gives you all the way through specific headings for each section. The fourth day, the sun and the moon, and so forth. So you notice those headings. So it opens everything like that. And you'll notice also there may be other cross-references in that section right there. Now, notice also that you have constant notes. Now, it says on the notes things that will give you more information. For example, if you're talking about verse 1:1, which in here is this one here, okay, chapter 1, verse 1, once you're done with the introduction, you'll notice this, that they have, these are cross-reference letters. And also the 1 is a cross-reference and the 2 is a cross-reference to notes. So see, deity names of, beginning in Genesis 2, 4, and 7, and then it goes on and so forth through all of them. So therefore, then when you have notes, that means notes underneath. So in the beginning, God, notice there's a 1 before God. Now here are the notes, and these are very important because they give you the Hebrew name for God all the way through here. And notice that also there are constant cross-references here, as you will see. And then the next verse note has to do with verse 1:2. Okay, what happened after that? In other words, in verse 2, and the earth was without form. Let's go to the next verse. I guess we skipped the page. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, so if you've got the earth which was dark and without form when God already created it, how did it get that way? Well, here's what he says in a note. For example, there are cross-references here. Clearly indicates that the earth had undergone a cataclysmic change as a result of divine judgment. The face of the earth bears everywhere the marks of such a catastrophe. There are not wanting intimations which connect it with the previous testing and fall of and so on. All of that goes through. Now, all of these notes are therefore very important. So, with every section of this book, I've usually said, read all notes. Now, that's an example. But again, the cross-references are what are important. For example, therefore, if we go to Genesis, there's the beginning of the names of God, which you saw here. Now, if we check that all the way through, that's another thing we can do as well. Now, we won't do that right now because we'll go back to that. But just to give you another sample, there's also a section in here which is called proper names. So each time you get a proper name, you get its pronunciation, for example, right there. And then you will find out where it is in the Bible. Okay? There you see the name. There you see the proper significance. And then it shows you all the places in the Bible where you can find it. Now, sometimes there are more places in the Bible where you can find the name. It may have more things to do with something. For example, if you go over here and you take this name right here, you notice that there are also several places where you can find the person, and notice the cross-references as well. So you can go all the way back in those cross-references and find that person, and also notice that of a gift, brother of Jacob, with David carries off Saul's spear, slays hundreds, 300 men, and then see also 1 Corinthians 11:20 and 18:12. All right, so that's just one section also that is very large of proper names, and once you go back to the references where they're found, you will find that not only is proper names, but sometimes you will find the meaning of those proper names in the center columns. In other words, there are not only notes on the bottom in most cases, in some cases not, but in most cases, but at least in the center columns you will also find other references not only on the bottom. For example, some of them will actually give you names of what that place was. For example, Day of Jehovah. Now, there you go. That was Day of Jehovah. Now, there are cross-references for that. Armageddon, Battle of. There are the places you can find it. So those are also cross-references that you can find throughout this. So the cross-references are not only given on the bottom, which they are sometimes, but also it may tell you a definition of what's going on that is not in the text, which you will see right there. And that's why I have made lines near them, because otherwise I won't. And also I've made lines where there is an important section below. In other words, here, chapter 13, we happen to be in the book of Isaiah 13. And here you get to chapter 13, a burden of Babylon, a prophecy to be fulfilled in the day of the Lord. Now notice already under this, there are cross-references already, which you will have here, plus those that you will get in other places. But the burden of Babylon, now there's a 1. Why is there a 1? The burden, Hebrew, there you go. Now, what I've done throughout all of this Bible, I've marked the places where either a Hebrew or a Greek word is given so that you can understand its change in meaning or its many meanings, as you see. Down here, the city of Babylon, and so forth, is a Greek form. You notice that? And so forth. So that's why the notes are important, as well as the cross-references that you will find throughout. And then you go to the next page, you will have more things that have to do with that as well. Now, one of the other things in here, which is very important, is many places, what Scofield does is to do a summary of a particular thing in the Bible that's very important. So, in one section here, if you go to summary, for example, after you're done with the subject index and so forth, You're done with that, and you get to a subject, and then you go to a concordance, and in a concordance, you have all kinds of words which you can find in extreme detail. And this is where the cross-references are even greater. Notice that. Reproach. All the ways in which reproach happens, all of the places where it happens, and all of the verses where it happens. Now this is where this Bible has much more cross-references than even the other Bibles. So I think this is a better cross-reference Bible than any other one. So anything, also in here, of course, are many good maps. We won't go into that now. But the summaries, if you get the word summary and then you go through this Bible, what I've done on the edge of pages, which I'll show you next time, is the fact that you get many summaries of many, many things. And what I've done is marked each summary as it happens. So I will show you that next time to give you some idea of the scope of this old Scofield Study Bible, which has been sold more than any other Bible, and it has become probably the most popular Bibles, even though people may not agree with his theological stance specifically. We will continue this later.